Graham is the head brewer at the La Crosse Distilling Company. But before coming to La Crosse, he was in on the early Fort Collins, Colorado beer scene, honing his skills and education in brewing. Eventually, he was hired at Odell Brewing Company and spent his early years as a brewer with some masters in the industry. Graham talks with us about the day-to-day of brewing, pairing the La Crosse Distilling Company food and cocktails, his aspirations as a brewer, and what's next for his beers. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is La Crosse Local.
Well, my name is Graham Kaczmarek. I was born in Florida, but moved to Green Bay as an infant, so I'm pretty much from Green Bay. My current title would be head brewer at La Crosse Distilling Company. I moved from Green Bay to Fort Collins, Colorado in the early 2000s, not really having a clue what kind of beer scene was starting to take shape out there. To kind of give you an idea, in 2003 when I moved there was 4 craft breweries in town. Last time I checked, there were 21. So it was a very exciting time to be young and part of something happening. You kind of feel the creative energy in the air. And this was all pre-social media and smartphones. So if you weren't entrenched in this movement on the streets, you probably didn't even know it was happening. I mean, the talk around town was, you got to taste what this person made, or have you tried these hops yet, or the IPA versus stout debates. And then, eventually I was lucky enough to get hired at Odell Brewing Company and taken under the wings of some brilliant minds in the brewing world. I mean, lots of ins and outs between then and now. But this beer scene out west that I pretty much accidentally stumbled into in my early 20s is without question how I caught the brewing bug. And pretty much when I stopped drinking Miller High Life exclusively. I'm really proud to be part of the La Crosse scene. I see a lot of correlations with the early Fort Collins days back in the early 2000s where the beer scene is buzzing. And, you have some great breweries in this town, and I think it can only grow from there. I mean, everyone I know is creating great beer and with great care. So it's exciting to be part of this.
It seems like you've had, the experience of kind of falling into it and then also working with some real experts. What is important to you when creating a beer?
As far as the brew day goes, I try to prepare as much as I can and get as much prep done as I can. I try to give myself ample time because more often than not, something doesn't go according to my plan. And that's actually kind of exciting when that happens. We have a 3-barrel brew house at the distillery with a 7-barrel fermenter. So double batching is the norm. I mean, this makes for a longer brew day, but adds a level of complexity that I try to use to our advantage. When creating beer, well, when I come up with recipes, my motivation has always pretty much been the same. Brew beer people want to drink, respect that they deserve the best I can give them. My tendencies lead towards pretty much hoppy West Coast IPAs. I guess you could say I brew beer for the working man. The majority of beers I make these days, I try to keep, around 4.5, 6%, doing that without sacrificing any depth.
You touched on a lot of aspects there. Is there one particular item that kind of, how you stand apart from other brewers?
We're pretty lucky here in La Crosse. I mean, we have some talented and passionate people brewing beer around here, which is exciting. And at the distillery, we have an opportunity to play off our food and our cocktails, which gives us, a whole other level to play with. I mean, for instance, our most recent beer is an attempt at making the perfect Bloody Mary chaser. It's a pickled Pilsner, briny, it's a dilly, and it's a great sidecar for our bloodies. Really, we have just begun to scratch the surface on these types of pairings. I'm pretty excited to see where we can go with this. I really think we're going to stay in a good spot.
The brewing process is informed by the food that's served at the La Crosse Distilling Company. That's something you actually do take into account then.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, just having the creative energy you get by having people in the kitchen. I mean, Matt and his crew, they can't help but inspire and entice collaboration. I mean, this is something I hope to do much more of in the future. Food just has a great way of enhancing beer flavors. And our kitchen doesn't cut corners and shows great respect for the food. And just that alone absolutely makes me step my game up.
I'm a passionate craft beer drinker. I like my IPAs. It is a combination of science and art. I know some brewers call themselves artists. What do you think you have created that you're most proud of, that you think is one of your defining moments?
I mean, what I'm most proud of is actually that I can make beer that's drinkable. Seems crazy, but it wasn't always the case. Because I never came up in your typical way. I mean, I don't have like a chemistry background or a fermentation degree. I've always just had a hard-nosed work ethic and was really lucky early on to befriend some people in the brewing world that, I'm pretty proud of this hazy IPA we just made. We're calling it a Midwest Murky. Use some pretty exciting hops from their Neo-Mexican hops, so they're 100% American hops with no origins from Europe at all. We have that out now, and we're calling it a Midwest Murky IPA because it's not really a New England hazy, and it's not really a West Coast IPA. It's kind of like a little factors from each, hop techniques from the West and grain build from the East and yeast from the East. And we kind of met right in the middle and made something that's pretty special.
Yeah, I actually just had that beer recently. It was pretty good. I got it in a crowler, which I believe now you have for carryouts. What is next for the Lacrosse Distilling Company in terms of brewing? Where do you see it going?
Well, I mean, we're just honestly just really scratching the surface for what this can become. Crawlers is really new for us, and I think we're going to take that as far as we can take it. We'd like to get it we're in 25-ounce cans. I think we're going to lean towards 16-ounce cans so we could potentially sell 4-packs. And we have a lot of freedom there, being the distillery as well. So the distillery kind of drives the train, and the brewery, you can just be creative and collaborate. And we just want to get our beer in the hands of as many locals as we can.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Locals. Subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.